Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of High Energy Girl. And today's guest is Dr. Michael Haley, who is a chiropractor and a health coach. He actually even manufactures some really cool 100% pure raw aloe vera, which is really good for your gut healing. He bases his health principles on science, tradition, and in line with the biblical scriptures. So let's go and say hello to Dr. Haley. Hey everyone, welcome to High Energy Girl, a podcast helping women to age stronger because it is never too late to get fit, be strong, and feel sexy. I'm your host, Tracy Gluhide, health coach and personal trainer and founder of highenergygirl.com. Each week, we will either have a guest interview, which will provide you encouragement or an actionable tip to help you age stronger, or I will do a solo episode. Please also join our awesome Facebook group called High Energy Girls, and I'm looking forward to see you on the inside of that group and hope you enjoy today's show. Hey everyone, this is Tracy, and I have a special announcement. In order for me to help more women age stronger, I have created a 90-day one-on-one coaching program. And the goal here is to teach women over 50 how to age stronger while burning fat and boosting energy without going hungry or living in the gym. If you'd like more information, please hit me up at tracy@highenergygirl.com or friend me on Facebook and send me a message. I have a goal of transforming 1,000 women in the next year, and I hope you are one of them. Hey, Dr. Haley, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Thank you for having me on your show.
I am happy to do that. So for the listeners that don't know you, will you let us know a little bit of background about yourself?
I am a chiropractor. Before that, I was in business and I decided, it'd be better to really chase my dreams because I wanted to be a chiropractor. My school, they told me not to. They said I wasn't smart enough. That counsel, I hope he hears this today, okay? But anyway, I decided to chase my dreams, be the chiropractor. And in doing that, I learned that, there's this knowledge inside of us, this wisdom that is much bigger than us. And that when we give that wisdom what it needs to do what it needs to do, people get healthy. So my job isn't being a chiropractor, isn't being a health coach. It's to help people understand how their body works and tap into that life force to give it what it needs so they get well. I don't even have to know what's wrong with people. I don't have to know what their diagnosis is, which usually is wrong anyway. I don't have to know even their symptoms. It's really a matter of saying, okay, what are you missing from your life? Is it nutrition? Is it exercise? Is it rest? Is it your mindset? What's going on up here? And we optimally adjust those and people get well or have better health.
I like how you said the wisdom. Can you elaborate on that part first?
We are only so smart. And right here on my desk, I've got books. And I like reading, and they help me understand some things, and I learn more every day, but I'm only so capable. And somehow, in between reading, I might have something to eat, maybe a salad, a bunch of mixed vegetables, and I love dousing it with olive oil. And I'll eat that, and I feel pretty good. And somehow my body starts digesting this. In fact, I put it in there and I chew it up. And, Booksmart tells me that I'm masticating, working in digestive enzymes, and somehow they start breaking this food down. And when I swallow it, somehow it goes into this, acidic stomach environment where there's actually microbes also. And as it works into the small intestine, there's a different kind of microbe for that particular pH level, things that we don't even know exist. And they start eating the food that I ate and they grow and they multiply, and there's things like fungus and protozoa and bacteria and probably even intestinal worms, and they're essentially taking the food, turning it into a soil that somehow, from book smarts, from what I understand, my intestines kind of reach into that soil and draw nutrients out of it, much like a tree from the soil of the earth. And then it gets absorbed and picked up by, blood and traveling all over my body, making chemistry that we have no even concept about. We know some chemistry in the body, but there are so many biochemical processes going on, and I'm not giving my body the instructions to do that. It's just
Yeah.
happening, you know?
Yeah.
So somehow we're given this innate intelligence, that intelligence within you. We all have our own innate intelligence, which is directed by this, somehow universal intelligence, which I would refer to as God intelligence, that somehow does all of these things. I'm not thinking I have to take my next breath. I'm not thinking that, wait, let me swallow and blink my eyes to, kind of rinse. It just happens. And
Yeah.
that knowledge in us is working at all times, making the best of what we feed it.
Right.
Physically, the food that we eat, the spiritually, the things, the emotions and the mental things that we take in, and our attitudes. And it uses all that to affect our chemistry, who we are, and it's either used for good or for not so good. Good chemistry makes good things. Bad chemistry makes bad things happen.
Yeah, that's really good that you said that because I absolutely agree. And when you look at the atomic nervous system and the things that happen automatically, like we don't tell our heart to beat, we don't tell our eyes to blink or to tell our body that. Like, how could you not believe in God? I mean, come on, we are just such a walking miracle every day, you
It's
know?
absolutely amazing. And for me, I came to understand that when I was at chiropractic school, and we actually had to dissect human bodies. And yeah, it was and it was a little shock. They eased us into it, first you have a class across the street from dissection lab, and then you're in there, and then before you know it, you're taking them apart and putting them back together like puzzles. But when you start looking at the magnificent creation and realizing, wow, we have a hard time mixing together, dirt and water to make a good consistency of mud. Yet all of the biochemistry and different kinds of tissues and systems and everything working together, how does this happen? And
Yeah.
and what's the difference? Because everything seems in order here, but for some reason this one's not alive. And the one thing that we could never do is create, you know, life. We could procreate, and God gives life, but we can't make life. We can't assemble things and take food and try to arrange it and make tissues and put cells together. Even if we could, even if we were so smart to take and construct a cell, and let's, with chemistry, make these little liposomes and these internal structures of a cell, we can never make it come alive. How does
Hmm.
that happen? So in recognizing that, and realizing, with the little bit of knowledge we have, I talked about the chemistry and the gut and all the microorganisms and stuff, realizing that there's this delicate flora that's already digesting my food and making it usable for my body. I better stop putting chemicals in this opening in my face. And, whether it's pesticides in the food, what's a pesticide? Something that kills bugs. Well, if it's on my food, does it know to stop killing? Because I have life inside here, inside my gut. Herbicides, fungicides, these are all things that are designed to kill. People don't even realize preservatives. What's the purpose of a preservative? It's in your food. It's there to kill. That's why they put it in there. It makes the food last longer because the microbes can't eat it.
Ah, I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, so the all of these things, they're forms of antibiotics, anti against life. Oh, I don't take antibiotics. Are you eating things that are antibiotic, that are against life? It's a
Hmm.
form of antibiotic. And we're
Ah,
putting it inside us, destroying our guts. And it's no wonder why now more than ever people have more skin conditions, gut conditions, inflammatory bowel diseases. It's out of hand.
yeah, and cancer. It's like I think that, the CDC says that by 2030, not that I believe a damn thing the CDC says for the record. I think they're a bunch of liars, but they said that by 2030, half of our population will have cancer. And I think it's from all the chemicals and preservatives and everything.
Yes. We have a say in it. I remember Gabriel Cousins, a talk that he gave in Miami probably several years ago. And he did bring me to the realization that we can't really escape all of the chemistry. And even if you're buying organic everything,
Hmm.
acid rain, Fukushima, radiation is in the farmlands in Central America. The chemistry is everywhere, including our organic foods. What we do know is that organic foods are a lot cleaner than conventional foods. They don't have antibiotic type stuff intentionally put in them.
Right.
So we can do better. But we're still going to be exposed to these things.
Yeah.
We can only make the wisest decisions that we can.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. But most people don't even realize that. They don't know that they should, make better choices by avoiding the chemicals, the preservatives, the hormones. Like, we were talking earlier about meat. Like I love meat. Like well, I'm really not, but I could be like a carnicado, like carnivore, avocado. Perfect marriage. um but the they don't realize, like I always say to clients, they say, why can't I have corn? That's a vegetable. Well, why do they give cows corn? To fatten them up. Do you want to get fat too? Plus, have you read Michael Pollan's work? Like,
No.
oh my gosh, Dr. Haley, Omnivore's Dilemma by Michael Pollan is a must read. It's so
Oh.
fascinating how they separated the crops from the livestock and how they ruined both once they did that.
Mm,
But when they were together, it was a sustainable ecosystem.
right.
The cows ate the crops and they fertilized them, and so they worked together. But once they separated them and they developed the whole factory farming, they messed everything up.
You
So
know, yeah, and I'm not familiar with that particular work, but I am familiar with soil and I do my own farming, and I realize that chemistry, if I were to add things like, the pesticides, herbicides, fungicides, they're going to kill the microbes that are in the soil. And the things that are in the soil are supposed to be consuming stuff that falls on it, turning it into good nutrition for the trees, for the vegetation. In that, it's much like our guts, much like our intestines.
mm,
You know, on that soil, when the trees fall, you should see bugs on them and mushrooms and fungus growing, and that's decomposes, and bacteria and worms eat it. We know that worm castings are like magnificent soil to grow things in. What's it's poop, it's worm poop. And and then birds and frogs eat the worms and they poop out all over the place, and things eat the lizards, and up the chain, the dirt, the soil, all of it, it's really feces. And that's what makes it healthy. And if you kill it by spraying the crops with all of this stuff, you're killing the soil. And the only way you can now grow crops is by adding, fertilizers and nutrients so that the plants can artificially eat. It's
Yeah.
a messed up system. And it's the same way in your gut. The roots of those trees that are reaching into the feces, the soil that's been all the byproduct of all the fungus and bacterial and microbial and, worm breakdown and everything. It's happening in our guts.
Mm-hmm.
It's this we just take the food and mush it up so that the microbes can use it to make this biofilm mush of stuff that the roots of our intestines can stick into. Just like a root of a tree, you have a primary root and secondary roots and tertiary roots, and they have little hairs on them tapping into the soil. Our guts are like a tree. You have, folds in the intestines increasing the surface area, and you have these villi and microvilli and hairs on the microvilli tapping in to the soil of the microbe activity that's consuming the foods that we eat. So now, like roots of a tree, our intestines can absorb nutrition for our body to work. And if you're eating things that have the chemistry in them that kills that chemistry, you're eating the nutrient makers in our gut. You're killing the nutrient makers, the microbes.
Yeah. So that is a really great analogy. We have a small little farm here too. We have 5 acres. Um, so what do people do about this? Like, what do you recommend that we do so that we can have a healthier gut and a healthier body?
There are definitely superfoods that will help repair and restore the gut. Um, I am going to emphasize, we'll talk about those in a second. I am going to emphasize that if you fail to stop the damage, don't even bother. Don't even listen to the rest of this discussion because, you know, they're just band-aids. If you're using a superfood to get a certain effect, it's no different than taking a drug unless you're making changes to stop the assault.
Mm-hmm.
So, the things we talked about up to this part is probably, you know, equally even more important than making, than adding. Don't just add good stuff to your diet. Get rid of the crap. You got to get rid of the cause of disease
Yeah.
to be healthy. But
Yeah.
me, I've been influenced by Dr. Natasha McBride, who, she has the GAPS diet and bone stock soup, wonderful healing nutrients for the gut. There's also superfoods that can accelerate the healing. I happen to be a big fan of aloe vera. So they work together. The bone stock soup can provide the nutrients. Aloe vera, just like it speed heals a sunburn, can also speed heal your guts. There's also additional benefits, but when we're talking about reducing inflammation and healing the gut and getting rid of the Crohn's or inflammatory bowel disease, or I can probably name 50 different names from celiac to all of the different inflammatory GERD, acid reflux, gastritis, so many names. It's all the same thing. We've disrupted the intestinal flora. We've gotten rid of that protective microbiome layer. Things are raw, inflamed, and leaking.
Mm.
So, if we could somehow stop the assault, get rid of the chemistry, consume the nutrients that help repair, and even superfoods that speed heal, well, now we have a quick path to getting well.
So the aloe vera. Okay, I want to talk about that because I've seen it at Walmart. I've seen it at Trader Joe's and Sprouts and Whole Foods. And it all says 100% aloe vera. Tell me, is that really true?
It's so funny. I remember being at Walmart and finding this bottle of it said 100% aloe vera, and it was a lotion. It was like a gel, this sticky kind of stuff. And, it probably felt pretty good if you put it on a sunburn. But when I turned it over, there was 100 things that I didn't even recognize listed on the back. Oh, made with 100% aloe vera. So we took 100% aloe vera, took some of that, maybe put some in there. You really have to be careful these days. And there's something else about aloe vera. It's, you know what enzymes are.
Yeah.
Enzymes like, for instance, lipase helps break down fat, and amylase helps break down starches, carbohydrates. In fact, I remember seeing this demonstration where someone took a veggie capsule that had digestive enzymes in it, opened it up on some oatmeal, and then we watched the oatmeal liquefy as the amylase went to work on the starches of the oats. It was a very neat thing to understand how enzymes work. Aloe vera actually has enzymes that will consume itself. So if you were to, fillet aloe vera, grind it and turn it into a drink, and then, leave it on a shelf for a couple months, you're actually going to have very little of the healing components at the end of the month, because the naturally occurring enzymes that are in it break down the big macronutrients, changing them into something else, not what you intended.
Wow. Okay. That is interesting, because that way, when you buy the stuff, you don't know how long it's been sitting there. It could be a month or a year, like who knows? So now it's basically dead.
Exactly. Or changed, or consumed by itself. And it's not like consumed by bacteria, although that can happen too. But enzymes are really like chemical catalysts that just break down molecules. They're not alive. They're like chemical catalysts. They change things over time. They initiate reactions. So yes, aloe vera is one of those things that definitely changes, and it's actually why we keep it frozen. And if people want to understand, well, how long can I keep it in the refrigerator for? It depends. You got two things that are at work. You have the enzymes that are at work breaking it down, and you have bacteria breaking it down. What ends up happening is it starts out kind of thick, and if you have it and you shake it, it'll have this goopy sound to it. But after a few weeks, when you shake it, it'll sound more like water because it's broken down. And when it comes to the bacterial side of this, I'm sure you're familiar with fermentation, the process that turns raw grape juice into a delicious wine, or that turns cabbage into sauerkraut, as microbes grow. If you've ever made your own sauerkraut, you chop up a bunch of cabbage and sprinkle some salt on it, and the salt draws the water out, and you stick your hands in it when you can, grab on to a handful of cabbage and wring it out like a wet sponge. You stuff it in a jar and submerge it in its own juices and leave it on your counter for about a week. Now, on day 6, maybe even day 7, you're probably still going to have like a salty, crunchy cabbage. But overnight, at some point, you'll just see all of these bubbles, and it'll be souring. And that happens faster and faster the more you let it go. It's going to be the same way in your refrigerator when it comes to something like raw aloe or fresh squeezed orange juice. I did this. I made this one analogy. It's on a video on our YouTube channel, and the video is called "What Would You Rather Have? A penny that doubles every day for a month, or $1 million?" And the concept is a lot like fermentation. If you take the $1 million, great, you win, right? But if you take the penny that doubles every day, a penny becomes 2 pennies, 4 cents, 8, 16, 32, $1.28. You're barely breaking a buck at the end of the first week. But at the end of the month, you are doubling millions of dollars. It's the same way with bacteria in the food. They double, and for a period of time, it's not very significant. The grape juice tastes the same, but all of a sudden, one day it's fizzy and sour and has a little alcohol content to it. That's how fermentation happens. And that's what we want to pay attention to in our food. We can preserve things and it can become a superfood. Sauerkraut is probably much more nutritious than cabbage. But some things we don't want to change, like aloe vera. We don't want those mucopolysaccharides to be consumed by the bacteria. I don't want a probiotic in my aloe vera. I want the mucopolysaccharides that are going to excite my immune system and teach it, recognize the difference between healthy cells and cancerous cells or viruses.
Yeah.
I want the gut healing, the repair happening. I want the blood sugar lowering and all the benefits that, come with aloe vera.
Mm-hmm. So where do you still haven't answered my question? Where do we get this magic potion that's going to actually have the healing benefits other than the crap that you can buy in a plastic jug, at the grocery store?
Yeah, definitely pay attention to what is in the containers. You want real aloe vera. Your ingredients have to be listed on the container. On our containers, it's aloe vera inner leaf only. You're not going to see preservatives added. You're not going to see thickeners added. You're not going to see carrageenan added as a thickening agent. Why would I want to do that? Because if I filtered it so much that it splashes like water, or it's broken down and it splashes like water, if I put some thickening agent in it, it still shakes with that goopy sound, right? So you think you have aloe vera gel, but you don't. Yes, we are. Haley Nutrition is, the only ones that I know that's making 100% pure, unfiltered, not pasteurized, raw aloe vera gel. We're the only ones that we make it commercially available that I know of.
Oh, so you guys make it?
Absolutely.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, that's awesome. I'm gonna have to get some of that. I have lots of clients that have like Crohn's and different types of
Your audio.
Okay.
You're back. Your audio's back now.
I accidentally hit that. I have lots of clients that have digestive disorders that could benefit from that. And I've always told them bone broth, but I totally forgot about aloe vera. So that's really, really good to know. And so you guys keep it frozen. So how do you ship it? Do you ship it and then tell people to freeze it?
We do. Yes, we store it here frozen. We ship it out directly to the consumers frozen. I should say it leaves here frozen. In the wintertime, it arrives to you frozen. In the summertime, it might be partly melted by the time you get it. It's okay.
Yeah.
You can refreeze it. Some people will take the opportunity to pour it off into smaller containers and then refreeze it. The keeping it frozen is what keeps it from degrading and changing. It slows down the enzymatic activity. It slows down the microbial activity. And, we've seen people successfully freeze it for up to a year.
Oh, cool. What else do you guys make?
Well, I have a personal favorite. Phytonutrition is one of the most important things to me, and it's something that actually really changed my life about 25 years ago. And I love our Aya greens, which we named after one of our employees. One of the things she always said was, I agree. I agree. I agree with you. And we ended up naming our greens formula Aya Greens. But it's a mix of powdered fruits and vegetables, digestive enzymes, probiotics. And it was, I remember like yesterday, 2004, when I started taking another brand. And I remember instantly thinking, oh my goodness, I feel like I, snorted some cocaine or something. I just felt amazing. And so much so that I didn't tell anyone because I felt too good. And I knew I had to do some research and make sure this was real and safe and there wasn't drugs in it. And it made sense. And I started sharing it with my patients. And, we started having people getting well from things like even Alzheimer's and depression and all kinds of people just waking up and feeling great. I didn't know that powdered fruits and vegetables would give me energy. I didn't know that I was actually nutrient deficient, not getting enough fruits and vegetables.
Mm. And that brings us back to the soil. Because of the over farming, picking when green, only putting in 3 minerals into the soil, right? It's kind of like a picture. So even if you are eating all your fruits and vegetables, I go to the farmer's market pretty much every week, but you're still not getting the nutrient density inside our food that we once did, right? So our bodies needs increase due to all the toxic load that we're experiencing in our environment, but our food nutrients, the phytonutrients and micronutrients decrease. So we've got like a flipped scale. Would you agree?
Right. Whether you're eating animal foods or vegetables, and because the animals are eating nutrient depleted foods as well. And
Yeah.
yes, it's definitely changed. If you go and buy conventional produce and you look at it next to organic produce, usually what you see is the conventional is bigger and has less color and less flavor, less aroma. The smaller, nutrient dense, I like the word you used, nutrient density, the nutrients give things flavor, color, smell. And the organic things have it packed in there. And because they're smaller, you'd probably consume more of them, which means you're actually going to get even more nutrition
Yeah.
than the things that we're growing as fast as we can, that not only don't have time to absorb nutrients, but there's really no nutrients in the soil that they're trying to grow them in anyway, because they've completely altered the ecosystem that they're
Yeah.
growing them in. So absolutely. And we're feeding animals nutrient dead food. So why would their, meat, milk, eggs, why would those things have nutrients in them if we're not feeding them to the animals?
Mm-hmm. Totally true. That's funny that you said that. I forgot to let my chickens out. I have my chickens, and you know what? Like people don't even realize they think that chickens like grain, but their favorite food is earwigs. Like they just go crazy on the bugs.
I remember when I stopped feeding my chickens and I decided, okay, that's it. No more feeding, total rewilding. And you're going to have to learn to eat on your own. What happened is first they stopped making eggs for a season. Then they learned how to fend for themselves and eat and scratch, and they, my yard started disappearing little by little, but you can only have so many chickens per square feet, and you got to get that proper balance so that your yard can keep up with the chickens. But when we finally got it all figured out, we started getting such better eggs from them. And I remember one time in particular when we ran out of eggs from the backyard, and my family loves eggs. So we actually went to the grocery store and bought the best organic, cage free eggs that we could find. And I remember going to crack it in the pan and almost broken my hand because the shell was so thin compared to what we were used to. It's almost like, cracking a backyard egg is like, breaking glass to get the yolk out. And but these thin shells, and then my kids saw this egg plop into the pan, and what I heard, like all of them at the same time go, "Ew, what is that?" They had never seen a pale colored, not having. They're used to this deep orange. And I remember when they were eating them, they're like, "Oh, these are gross. They're like fluffy nothing. They don't taste like anything." They were used to this deep, rich flavor from the backyard eggs. what goes into the animals is what goes into the meat, the dairy, the eggs that they produce,
Hmm.
and it makes all the difference.
Yeah. You are what you eat, and you are what your food eats,
Yeah.
for sure. That is awesome. So, you were talking earlier, like, what does your diet look like? Like, tell me a day in what you eat.
Yeah, I definitely consume animal foods in smaller portions probably than a lot of people. I'm very particular when it comes to the animal foods I eat. I definitely like eggs. I do absolutely like red meat. When it comes to red meat, I won't get grass fed. I will get grass finished. I want truly 100% grass fed, not the lie grass fed where
Hmm.
the cow spent half of its life in the field, which is usually the first half up to about 600 pounds of cow. And then let's fatten it up to 12 or 1,300 pounds and send it to the market and call it grass fed because it meets the legal requirement. So I order when it comes to red meat, steak, or whatever, I order it specifically 100% grass fed, coming from, in this case, Missouri. But there you have your sources. Um, so my meat cuts are pretty particular. Same thing with my dairy. I want grass fed milk. I want grass fed butter or ghee. I want everything nutrient dense, dark color, lots of flavor. But I'm huge on my salads. And a salad doesn't mean it has to be raw vegetables. I like al dente. I like steamed carrots. I like steamed Brussels sprouts. I like to grow my own bean sprouts. And instead of using things like lettuce, iceberg lettuce, I'll use a handful of sprouts.
Yeah.
I like pumpkin seeds and maybe blue cheese or feta cheese or there's so many things you can put in a salad, including meat. It's still a salad. A salad's your collection of probably cold, some cooked, maybe some raw. It might have some hard boiled eggs in it. It might whatever you like. Get creative, but
Hmm.
I can easily eat 2 or 3 salads a day.
Yeah. I'm with you. I love salad, and I like making broccoli sprouts. Like it's like 3 days. I like them before they're super tall. So when they're they've got that really nice texture, it's like more grainy. Um, so yeah, I'm with you. There's a device that you should check out. It's called a chopper, and I want to say maybe $15 at Target. But what you can do is throw in, like, say, some broccoli or some Napa cabbage or whatever, and it chops it. So then it's really easy to mix everything up, you
Oh,
know?
nice.
So
Yeah.
that's kind of a fun way to be able to have a, big variety of vegetables in there, and they all kind of combine.
Yeah, I like that.
So, and you just put olive oil on top.
Yeah, one of my favorites for sure, olive oil. I used to mix it and make my mustard, with olive oil and vinegar and maybe a little like Herbamare sea salt, kind of thing or whatever. And flavor it up and make, but I come to love just a good, one of those, I don't, not hot, but olive oil when it has that cough factor, and you get it in the back of your throat and you want to cough because it's so rich in the polyphenols, nutrient dense olive oil, the real stuff, not the fake stuff.
Yeah.
I like beets on my salad and, there's so much you can do in a salad. And to me, it's breakfast.
Yeah, you're making me hungry. I haven't eaten yet. That's awesome. So, Michael, where can people find you?
HaleyNutrition.com. On the bottom of our website, you'll see links to our social media, our Facebook, our YouTube. Lots of videos to check out on YouTube. You'll get aloe vera farming, nutrition things, even food preparation videos.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. And you guys got to get some aloe. I mean, that to me is really, really good. I totally forgot about it. So I'm really glad that you reminded me. So that was awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I learned a lot from you, which is always a joy.
Well, thank you, Tracy. Thank you for having me, and thank you for what you're doing and all the great content you're creating for your audience.
Aw, you're so sweet. All right, I have got to get some of that aloe. And I really hope that you enjoyed the show. Please head on over to the show notes page at highenergygirl.com/show, where you will find the links to Dr. Haley's website, and you can also check out that cool aloe vera. All right, you guys, thanks so much for listening. And if you haven't already, please head on over to iTunes, leave us a rating and review so more people can find the awesome show and learn amazing things from our great guest. All right, make it a great day. This podcast contains the opinion and thoughts of its host and guests. It is intended to provide helpful and informative material on the subjects covered. All statements made on the podcast have not been evaluated by the FDA and are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent disease. If the listener requires professional assistance or advice, please contact your personal medical doctor. Both host and guest specifically disclaim any responsibility for any liability, loss, or risk, personal or otherwise, which is incurred as a consequence directly or indirectly of the use and application of any of the contents of these episodes. Like I said, this is my opinion and I could be wrong.